Now we are turning our focus on a concept of discrete event model, which is being called agent-based model. And these days, many of these modeling and simulations have been developed to be an agent-based model, and actually there is an implementation part and also is a conceptual modeling part, and we are going to focus on more conceptual issue here in this video lecture. Okay, before we go further, let's imagine a supply-demand model. This is quite typical model that you may learn in high school or even middle school. And I don't have to explain any further on the concept of this equilibrium. So we have demand curve and supply curve. As price goes up, demand being decreased. However, as price goes up, supply becomes increased. And there is an equilibrium point here where market price and market transaction quantity is being set. Having said that, this typical model has been developed over time, presented by John Locke and also Ricardo, and there are these basic rules. As demand increases in terms of the quantity, means that it will increase the price and of course the transaction quantity. As demand decreased, the other way around, and supply being increased means in terms of the quantity, and it will go in this way. In this way means that what? Quantity is going down and price is going down. Quantity is going up and price is going down, right? Like in this direction. And supply decrease the other way around. Okay? So this is very simple model which we can apply, where we can apply this our thought experiment. Our thinking becomes an experiment in this very simplified model of a market. And from this model, we can derive whole the other set of model and many types of the financial or the real economy models that we can analyze in virtual setting. However, I posted 2 readings on the kooc.kaist's website and also kooc website, and those readings includes Paul Krugman's self-organizing economy, and the other is self-organizing society. And the first reading, the Paul Krugman's self-organizing economy. Here, Paul Krugman, who happens to be a Nobel laureate in the field of economics, and he received his Nobel Prize from the new trade theory and economic geography and so forth. And it's not surprising that he utilized these new concepts of the agent-based model in his studies of particularly in the economic geography and so forth. And in the reading of the self-organizing economy, he said what? What moves the economy of the world? What moves the economy of the world? Any day, traditional, a classic and cliche question. And what he responds is a complex system. And we need to understand further on this complex system, and particularly it will be our key capability on how to design this complex system so that we can understand what drives our economy from his perspective. So complex system is not just many of those market participants. Okay, there are so many market participants in many of those markets, real estate markets, stock markets, or even if you go to the traditional markets where we can buy our grocery, we can see many people, many participants, right? However, just the number does not make a system complex, but rather feedback loop, interactions between the entities, between the participants. These are making system complex. So even with a small number of participants, we can have a complex system if those interactions becomes frequent and with impact and apply influence those agents, participants, states, and so forth. And general equilibrium model, which is what? Supply-demand curve. Supply-demand curve model. This supply-demand curve model provides this equilibrium theory, right? As a supply curve where the supply curve and demand curve meet, right? And that's where equilibrium happens. And actually, that is very much simplified model without modeling on no model on what? Market participants. However, those equilibrium is being I would just say this word emerged, okay? Emerged out of this context, emerged and constructed. This equilibrium is constructed through the feedback loop of these elements and factors owned by the participants, right? So we are abstracting this feedback part into a very simple way to create a supply-demand curve. However, there is a gap between the supply-demand curve and the market participants. How to fill the gap between these words it was his question. And here, complexity and emergence. I just said the word emerge, right? So this complexity in Korean 복잡성, emergence in Korean 창발성, okay? So this complexity creates emergence, okay? So individuals, it's not just one individual, many individuals will create the interactions and feedback, and eventually these will create patterns, right? And Adam Smith said this mentioned this as an invisible hand, right? However, this invisible hand was not being dominated by a single entity or government or bank or rich people. It's not like that, but rather that depends upon this invisible hand is being governed by many of these individuals, particularly their interactions. That's the complexity turning into the emergence. Then, why complexity theorists, who happens to be, I think that Paul Krugman could be one of the good complexity theorists, and don't see why they don't see the supply-demand model as a complex model. Why is that? Because we cannot see through the interactions between the entities in this supply-demand curve model. It's just that all participating entities is being reduced and being abstracted into just one demand unit or one supply unit, and their interactions are just being simplified in a homogeneous way. On the other hand, in the real world, we are all different individuals with different utility functions, and now they are all being homogeneous, being simplified, and being turned into just one unit of measure in the supply and demand curve. So that's the reason why these complexity theorists don't see supply-demand model as a complex model. So because supply-demand curve does not self-organize, that's the key. And for the self-organization, this self-organization, in other words, emergence, will require interactions. However, it is not creating emergence because it does not have an interactions between the entities. That's the reason why we don't see supply-demand curve as a complex model. And the recent days, particularly with the development of the agent-based models and its computing capability, self-organizing economy, or the other alternative models, many of those domains have been emerged.